Braun Strowman, a really tough SOB.
What on earth? Oh my God!
But there were two of them.
Get out of the way! Get out of the way!
To Bobby Lashley's is making him scary. Oh!
Well, this guy really is destroying stuff for the company. Maybe that's...
Braun Strowman was one of those guys who Vince McMahon obviously looked at and went, bring him to Raw now.
Yeah.
Do you know how many matches he had in his entire career before debuting on global television? 7. Freaking 7.
Immediately
And they
after
were all
7?
dark matches and live event appearances for NXT. Just imagine how he was loved and how much potential certain people saw in him for them to take a green, unpolished, unfinished trainee and put him in the spotlight. Surprisingly, that gamble paid off, and it hardly took any time.
Nice.
When Braun Strowman was introduced as the newest Wyatt family member on the Raw after SummerSlam 2015,
Definitely
it turned
belong
out to
there.
be a strategic move to have other experienced superstars.
To be honest, I have no idea why there were no interactions whatsoever with the Bray Wyatt, the Wyatt Six right now family, as well as Braun Strowman. I think they have this whole storyline with Chad Gable, but not with Strowman.
Cover his weaknesses while he learned on the job. Credit where it's due because he learned pretty damn quickly. A little less than a year after his debut, the reintroduction of the WWE draft and brand split proved to be the perfect opportunity for Braun Strowman to be the single star that he was always meant to be.
Hell yeah.
While Bray Wyatt and
SOB.
Luke Harper went to SmackDown, Strowman was put on Raw in an extremely stacked and competitive roster. WWE knew they couldn't put him up there with
When was
Roman
that,
Reigns, Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, and Finn Balor of the roster yet, but he was going to get there eventually.
True.
So what did they do? They
But did
used the
they?
tried and tested formula of
There
having
you go.
Strowman squash enhancement talent and other non-main event superstars. He became a human wrecking ball who didn't say much. All he needed to do was walk out, wreak havoc, and leave. It was very Austin-esque, which is probably why the reactions got bigger every week. WWE was playing to his strengths when
Choo-choo
presenting him,
train.
and it didn't take long to get him involved with the big boys. At Survivor Series, he was part of Team Raw, in what
Final
has been
member
the
of
greatest
Team Raw.
match in the history of the premium
Raw.
live event.
The hell
Although
is
he
that?
wasn't on the winning side of things, the fact that he was eliminated via countout didn't hurt him much. In early 2017, he began what would be a career-defining feud against Roman Reigns. He wound up costing him in a Universal title match at the Royal Rumble before taking his first pinfall loss to the big dog at Fastlane. Not an ideal scenario, but Roman Reigns was going up against The Undertaker, so he wasn't going to lose. Roman Reigns rarely ever loses in the February show before WrestleMania. In fact, he hasn't lost in a February premium live event since 2014. Anyway, there was nothing in store for Braun Strowman at WrestleMania. Something that would
so he
become
was
an
mad.
unfortunate trend over the years.
Oh no.
Still, it wasn't all that bad. He was being kept for a big run after WrestleMania, and once Roman Reigns defeated The Undertaker to retire him, they picked up where they left off. Although Braun Strowman flipping an ambulance with Roman Reigns in it was supposed to garner sympathy for Reigns, it had the reverse effect. You see,
Oh, no way.
Roman Reigns was public enemy number 1 after defeating The Undertaker at WrestleMania.
Oh yeah, that's why they
And
liked
the reactions for him
it.
got increasingly hostile. So although Braun
sense.
Strowman was technically the bad guy, he became wrestling's number 1 good guy for what he did to Roman
Oopsie.
Reigns. There was also that epic match against The Big Show on Raw where the two of them quite literally shattered the ring.
Whoa!
Man, that was a great match. Strowman even managed to get his revenge on Roman Reigns by beating him at Payback before an elbow injury took him out of
Oy,
action.
oy, oy.
WWE reported that he had to undergo surgery for his elbow, and it would keep him out for a half of a year. They exaggerated that a
lot.
bit, and he returned sooner, resuming his feud with Roman
Oh,
Reigns
okay.
and beating him again in an ambulance match.
match.
The stage was set for SummerSlam, where Strowman was one of 3 men competing for Brock Lesnar's
Oh, but look at these
Universal
guys.
Championship.
Sheesh.
The SummerSlam main event in 2017 was built around Braun Strowman and his dominance. In one of
Okay.
the most dominant performances ever, Strowman
He loses?
manhandled Brock Lesnar like
my God,
nobody
look!
before him.
That's
Although he didn't win the
crazy.
match, he was the hottest star in the company.
Why would
It only
Brock
made
win
sense
that
for Lesnar and Strowman
one?
to go at it in a singles match,
Okay, no mercy.
which unfortunately turned into a disappointment as he lost to the Beast Incarnate.
Not again.
For the second time in less than a year, he had a big dent in his momentum. He
That's not
finally
nice. He
had
should
his
have won
moment
that
where he
one.
officially became a good guy when his
Oh.
teammates Cesaro, Sheamus, The Miz, and Kane threw him in a garbage truck. Remember that match that he teamed up with the 4 of them against a modified Shield? That pay-per-view alone seems like a bit
I
of
don't
a
remember
fever
'cause I didn't
dream.
watch it.
He was already one of the most popular stars on the roster by this point, so all WWE was doing was making it official. It helped him a bit once again that he participated in a star-studded Survivor Series match.
But he needs a
It turned out to
champion.
be quite disappointing compared to the previous
Shit.
year, but Strowman had the last laugh when he turned Triple H's head into a beetroot by choking and threatening him. He pursued the Universal Championship against Brock Lesnar
And
again
won.
at the Royal Rumble, this time in a match involving Kane. Since Lesnar versus Reigns was the end goal and everyone knew it, the outcome was kind of obvious. Even in
Not
defeat,
again.
he remained one of WWE's hottest stars. It was once again the road to WrestleMania, which meant that a large portion of fans were dreading the inevitable Roman Reigns push to the main event.
Oh,
Just
no.
like Dean
And
Ambrose
it
a couple of
happened,
years
right?
ago, Braun Strowman was the sentimental favorite in the Elimination Chamber match to determine
lost?
Brock Lesnar's Universal title challenger at WrestleMania 34. In what turned out to be the most dominant performance in Elimination Chamber history, Strowman would bulldoze through Elias and future Hall of Famers The Miz, John Cena, Finn Balor, and Seth freaking Rollins. The only man standing in his way now was Roman
Roman
Reigns, and
Reigns.
fans made their choice clear. It was Strowman they wanted, and not Roman Reigns.
But
But
they
of
got
course, the big dog had to
Oh
conquer
my
all,
God.
and he did exactly that by pinning Braun Strowman to secure his spot at
Oh
WrestleMania.
my God.
Another
You know
WrestleMania-
what? I have a feeling that Braun Strowman has, these picado things, but instead of having the circle, he has like the picture of Roman Reigns, like, every time.
And another moment where Strowman was built up only to get knocked down.
Sad.
And although he was at least going to get a title match at WrestleMania 34 in New Orleans, there was a bit of a twist. In his match against Cesaro and Sheamus for the Raw Tag Team titles, Braun Strowman chose the 10-year-old Nicholas from the crowd. Nicholas was the son of WWE referee John Cone and made history by becoming the youngest champion in the company. But it was quite obvious that this was a thrown-together plan at the last minute to get Braun Strowman on the card since they couldn't justify leaving him off it. Strowman and Nicholas would vacate the
that's
titles
dumb.
one night later due to school commitments. The post-WrestleMania to SummerSlam stretch was quite interesting for Braun Strowman.
Oh my
He
God.
won the greatest Royal Rumble match, got into a fun little feud with Kevin Owens where he threw him off a steel cage, then won the Money in the Bank briefcase, all
Alright,
before
he's getting a
squashing
push.
KO in 2 minutes at SummerSlam. He
Okay.
was even involved in the main event later that night by inadvertently costing Brock Lesnar the Universal title against Roman Reigns. In what would be a rather bizarre decision, Strowman turned to the dark side again when pursuing the Universal Championship, and he cashed in his contract beforehand to set up a main event match at Hell in a Cell. It was a pretty bad finish, but nowhere near as much of a train wreck as the Hell in a Cell 2019 main event the next year,
What do we
but
have
a train
here?
wreck nevertheless. He got yet another chance at the Universal Championship at Crown Jewel after Roman Reigns vacated the title, but he lost to Brock Lesnar yet again. After this,
God, it's
he
like
entered
Brock
one of the most
Roman,
unremarkable
Brock
periods of his WWE career, turning into a good guy again after just a few months because of a big gap left by Roman Reigns. He feuded with the likes of Baron Corbin, turned into a Royal Rumble runner-up against Seth Rollins, and had another forgettable WrestleMania season.
Forgettable?
This time he feuded with Saturday Night Live stars Michael Che and Colin Yost, culminating at the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal at WrestleMania 35. Hey, at least this time he won the whole thing. 2019 as a whole was a pretty bad year for Braun Strowman. After WrestleMania, he had a relatively average feud with Bobby Lashley and entered the Universal title picture again, this time in a bit of an unconventional way. This was by becoming tag team champions with the man he would have to later face, Universal Champion Seth Rollins. He lost the tag titles and then his Universal Championship match all in one night at Clash of Champions.
Oh no!
And then there was the feud with Tyson Fury, where he lost to the boxer via countout in Saudi Arabia. You probably wiped that out of your memory, didn't you?
What is
We don't
this?
blame you if you did.
Poor guy.
As 2020 began, he finally won his first singles championship in WWE, the prestigious Intercontinental title. But that turned out to be a quick, transitionary kind of reign, with Strowman losing the title to Sami Zayn at Elimination Chamber. It seemed like once again, WWE had nothing for him at WrestleMania. But then, Roman Reigns pulled out his Universal Championship match against Goldberg to go home and be with his family amidst the breakout of the coronavirus. This puts Strowman in the perfect position as he replaced Roman Reigns not long before the event and beat Goldberg in the WWE Performance Center. What should have been a crowning career moment happened in front of no fans, but hey, he wasn't the only one it happened to. It was quite obvious that Strowman was a placeholder even during his first World Championship reign in WWE.
Placeholder. No one wants
It turned out to be a bit of an underwhelming run that was mostly dominated by his feud with his oldest friend in wrestling, Bray Wyatt. Wyatt would take the title from him at SummerSlam 2020, but even he was a placeholder for the man who was meant to have the title all along, Roman Reigns. Not too long after that, he found himself getting drafted to Raw, where he would go on to have the horrendous "You're So Stupid" feud with Shane McMahon.
Oh my God, Shane.
At this point, his character positioning was a bit vague because he turned so many times already, but he was clearly on the good side of things when Shane McMahon kept telling him how stupid he was. Strowman would have the last laugh at WrestleMania in a surprisingly good steel cage match against the prodigal son. Somehow, this turned out to be his greatest WrestleMania moment in over 7 years with WWE. To date, he hasn't had a moment better than that at WrestleMania. Sure, he technically beat a WWE Hall of Famer and became a world champion, but it wasn't as memorable without a crowd present. In his post-WrestleMania run, he once again entered the world title picture, but this time, it was the WWE Championship held by Bobby Lashley.
Hey, at least he got it.
This was his last hurrah before getting released in June of 2021. His release was undoubtedly one of the most shocking ones in a very long list of roster cuts that WWE had in 2020 and 2021. As you know, he returned in 2022 and had a pretty good match against Omos in a clash of giants before beginning an alliance with Ricochet. He was out of action for most of 2023 because of neck surgery, and he has yet to return.
No, he returned.
So what really went wrong with Braun Strowman?
Since 2022, what are you talking about?
It's easy to see that despite fans wanting him over Roman Reigns in 2018, Roman Reigns always had greater potential to be the guy in WWE.
I think
if
because
Strowman
of the mic.
was the one to beat Brock Lesnar in 2018, he probably would have had a decent run at best. But a lot of things that happened to him weren't really his fault. He just so happened to be one of Vince McMahon's favorite stars during what can be only described as a chaotic creative period. Strowman was
Yeah.
the reliable go-to guy whenever WWE needed a world title challenger, but they failed to capitalize on his momentum in his early years
True.
in 2017 and 2018. It was really a mix of bad luck, bad creative, start-stop pushes,
He
and
still
constant
got a
character changes
chance.
that took momentum
Big
away from
one.
him each and
People
every
still love
year.
him a lot.
So while he may have never been the guy for WWE, they certainly failed in a big way to turn Braun Strowman into one of the biggest stars of this generation. Thank you for watching.
There's so many wrestlers who didn't turn big stars and they deserved it. But what Sportskeeda doesn't know is that he is back. And I think that WWE has good plans for him now with Triple H. What people think Vince said when he first saw Strowman, bring him in the main roster. I love big sweaty men. What he actually said, bring him in, he will make Roman look strong. Oh my God, that is so true. That is actually so true. That's literally what happened. That is literally what happened. Braun and Samoa Joe were two people who could have been Universal Champions, but they chose Roman. I love Roman, but they deserved it more. I don't think they deserved it more. I think Roman has been doing a great job and worked so hard. Uh, I just think that maybe Braun needs to work on a different title and like try to compete for something else. The way Gunther did as well, you know, with the Intercontinental Championship, now going for the World Championship. So I don't know, we'll see. Braun Strowman shouldn't had lost to Lesnar, no Reigns, in his Universal title pursuit. They buried him for a part-timer and for a Reigns who was sick and left shortly after. That was so mean from the company. I mean, in a way, yeah, they gave him the opportunity and they gave him the championship, but at the same time, like, at what cost? Like, we all know it's a filler episode. We all know that is not something that you would do if Roman Reigns was still there or Brock Lesnar. WWE failed Braun Strowman when they chose Roman Reigns to defeat Brock Lesnar instead of him. To be honest, I think the company was doing what they thought is best by picking the guy that brings them the best numbers, you know, whether it is merch sold, tickets sold, views. They always look at the guy who has bigger reach. And I have a feeling that Roman Reigns always had a bigger reach than Braun Strowman. But that is it, guys, for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and see you tomorrow with a brand new one. Bye!